was ordained 12 years ago, in 2008. Since last year, after the General Assembly, I was called to be a member of General Council as a councillor. So I am actually in Rome. I did my missionary work in Central African Republic, in Monassao mission, in the Diocese of Berberati, where I worked among Pygmies people. There is a lot of vocation to the priesthood or to the religious life in Africa, that's true. But when we look at the number of candidates who are coming at the beginning of the formation and those who arrive till the end and are ordained, actually it's not that much. And it can be a little bit tricky. And there are so many places in Africa that we need priests. And I believe that our particular missionary vocation and our openness to those places where diocesan priests, for example, will not go so willingly, make our presence very important. And there is so many requests from different bishops, from different dioceses in different countries in Africa, that shows we are still a very important element of the Church in Africa. That's true that in some places there is enough priests, some dioceses, especially in West Africa. But there are still countries or regions that there is a lack of priests, and we see it. We can see it very easily. So our presence is important, and I believe that we should do everything to give a positive response to those bishops that want us to go to these places, very often remote places, difficult ones, sometimes even insecure, like it is in Central Africa or in Niger now, north of Benin, and those countries where the situation is quite difficult now. The last General Assembly has brought a lot of changes in our structures, in our organization, how we live our mission, how we organize ourselves. But when we look at the new leadership teams in all these new units, especially in Africa, there are very, very few leadership teams who are composed only with nationals. Most of them are internationals. And this reflects our style of life. That's a very important characteristic of our society, this internationality, which is sometimes difficult to live, that's true. It's a challenge, but I believe that it's something which makes us different, and it helps us to stay all the time during our work very attentive to others, and which helps us to see all differences, not only within the SMA, but in the Church, in our communities, in the places we live, societies, countries. So that's something very important. It is a permanent challenge to live this internationality in a good way, with respect, with openness of mind. Sometimes it's not easy, that's true, because we have different backgrounds, different cultures, different languages, different styles of life, the way of thinking, seeing things. And all these things play an important role in our everyday life. But our experience as SMA shows that it is possible to overcome all these differences and to live together, to preach the gospel together. All the time we are looking for the best way of fulfilling our mission and our charisma. And I think this is something that we should keep, because it's very easy to lose this characteristic of internationality. It's very easy to say, I cannot live with this one or that one because of this, because of that, so leave me alone. I will go among from my country or from my unit and we'll stay together. No, there is this temptation to do like this, but we are able to overcome these difficulties. And all these movements within the SMA, priests and conferers from African units coming to Europe or to the United States, it's something which today is quite normal. Few years ago it was something exceptional. Today it's something normal because the needs are there. Our elderly conferers from the units in Europe, here in the United States, these units having these long traditions, missionary life, they don't have vocations anymore. And there is a need of people to accomplish all these activities we have in these, let's say, old units. But this is something that can enrich, that can bring more life, not only to our SMA communities, but to the local churches in France, in Ireland, United Kingdom, or Italy, or wherever it will be. When someone from outside comes, he brings always something new, something rich, something which may be challenging to the community, questioning, but it's always good. We live actually a huge change, not only within the SMA, but in the church itself. And in what concerns the mission or missionary life, I think we need to change our way of seeing what mission is. I noticed that sometimes we have this difficulty and we still keep in our minds this image or picture of mission as a territory, which is well determined and designed on the maps, this country, this region or that region. I think it doesn't respond to the realities of today. Yeah. Because we need to change this way of thinking. The mission is not only a territory, but the mission, first of all, are people, and they move. They change their places of life very easily today, and we have to follow them as well. So we need to think once again and to try to change this way of seeing the mission. We still have some geographical places which are in need of missionaries, ad gentes, as it was years ago. Yes, that's true. The places like this are still there, but they are very few actually today. Yeah. So this is why we need to change this way of seeing the mission. And we can be missionaries everywhere. Here in the United States, in New York, going to the cities, going to the villages, meeting people, not only in the church, but I believe especially when we are out of the church. This is why there is a lot of possibilities to get involved in preaching the gospel in different contexts, like in Europe with migrants, with different groups that are considered as the most abundant. We have this capacity and this quality of going and meeting all these groups which are somewhere far away from the church. And my dream for the SMA will be that we keep our charism, we live it in a new way. That means to be faithful to what Monsignor Breziak has left for us as a charisma within the Society of African Missions, but to find the way to adapt it in new ways, because our charism, I believe, is still very, very actual. We have this experience of work in Africa, in sometimes difficult places, and our missionaries, our confreres, have this extraordinary capacity to adapt and to stay open in their minds, in their way of doing things, preaching gospel, of meeting people, and it's something we have to take care of. That's our particular charism, not to stay only in the group among Christians, Catholics, but to go outside, really. And this is the mission of Gentes, not geographically, but in a way of life, style of life, openness to the people.